murmurs about the QR code. It does work. So if you want to scan it on the TV here or on my iPad later, it does work and it allows you to get it. It was just a bit blurred on the big screen, so that's that. I think we'll get started here. I think we'll start the timer and whatnot, all that kind of stuff. So there was a couple of things I had skipped over, and I'd like to just revisit. One is at our leaders' meetings, when we would talk about the events, whatever event it was, father-daughter dance, church event, whatever, I would talk in detail about it. And then I would just coach our leaders to say, when your friends come, because they will, they love to come to this kind of stuff, make sure you or someone in your group ask them to study the Bible. And you can pitch out a variety of phrases to say, have you ever read the Bible? And what do you think? But anyway, just make sure you get people to study the Bible at those events. People come to events. And make sure when they come that you ask them to study the Bible. So also when we talk about how to study the Bible with people, the seeking, the convicted, and the repentance, specifically for married couples, we would always start their Bible studies together. Even if one wasn't really interested, that way just so your spouse knows what you're getting into and you're signing up for, why don't we just sit down and look at the Bible? We'd always try to start married Bible studies together and at least do the first couple of studies together as couples. And that way they'd know, and this is what your husband's signing up for, this is what your wife's signing up for. We studied the Bible, and I'm a big fan of that. And then at some point, you may want to split when they start talking about sin, but then at the end, come back together again. There's nothing more inspiring than baptizing a man and then him baptizing his wife. That's really inspiring. So just wanted to mention that. What was the next thing? So at every service, this is where I would blow the trumpet again. So, I don't know who does announcements at your church or service or whatever, and if you have somebody for that, that's awesome. But if there's a church event, that's where I blow the trumpet as the church leader. Because I'm going to come up here and say, man, we have paintball for the men on, and I know you can bring your mate out. And I, heckle, Brian, I know you can bring somebody out, right? And so at every church event, at the church service for Sunday, for midweek, I'm announcing that. I don't let anybody else announce that. Because I'm going to make sure it's emphasized. I'm going to make sure it's talked about. I'm going to make sure the trumpet is blown so that everybody knows there's an event that I can bring somebody to. All right, so at every service, you announce the event. You make sure people know so that way you're blowing the trumpet. And also, as I said earlier, if the event requires a lot of organization, you can delegate that. Find someone gifted. Find someone that's organized in order to do that so that you can spend your time getting to the people. Now, this last one was a cool thing we did. We do it occasionally. It's called the 2-minute testimony. If you're in an elevator or a lift in the South Pacific, and you have 2 minutes to share your faith. And so what we did is, and this is a document in the resources as well, I did a midweek training, teaching, equipping on this, where I talked about Paul. He's very simple. I was a blasphemer, a persecutor, and a violent man. He doesn't say, well, I was born in a Judaic household, and give you this podcast, all right? Hey, I was blaspheming, I was violent, and God changed me, right? So it's very simple. And so what I would do is I would do some teaching on it at a midweek, and then I would model it, and I would say, here's who I was. I was a rebel, and then God changed me. Now I follow the rules. Something like that, right? But anyway, and then at the end of the midweek, I'd say, all right, everybody take a few minutes to sort out your testimony, and then we're going to call people up. And then, all right, Rob, come on up and give your 2-minute testimony. And Rob would come up, oh, man, that was awesome. And after that, I would say, okay, now at the next event, share your testimony with somebody. And that way, they'd heard the teaching, they'd been equipped, some of them had publicly done it, and now when they're in the queue, the line for the grocery store or at an event, they say, man, I say, share your 2-minute testimony, just go for it, right? It equips them because they know how to do that, and it gives people the confidence to at least start to talk to people. All right, so that was a big deal, and we do that at least once a year where we come up and share our testimony, and that's awesome. So, I want to talk about the marriage events. And this is where, man, God really moved. It was quite stunning. I believe one of the engines for the church, any church, should be the marriage ministry. I think campus is awesome. You can raise young leaders, and we need to. But marriage, that's what keeps the church stable in many ways, like from a family and a financial perspective. And again, this is where the whole package of myself and Megan would really shine, because I would say, Megan could share, and you get the woman perspective on that, and it would be awesome, but you just get me. Sorry for that. Marriage events, I want to share this passage from Luke chapter 1. And here's what it says. At that time, Mary got ready and hurried off to a town in the hill country of Judea, where she entered Zechariah's home and greeted Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the baby leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. In a loud voice, she exclaimed, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the child you will bear." What is this talking about? Why are we sharing this verse? Mary and Elizabeth, what are they doing? They're bonding through their birth experience. Because women connect faster and they trust quicker than men. It was not Zechariah and Joseph saying, "Hey, we're having a baby." Not that there's anything wrong with that, right? So marriage events, man, this is a partnership with your wife. Because women trust quicker and connect quicker than men do. So if your church is going to convert marriage, you got to do this thing together. And you got to really, women's ministry is vitally important in this way. It's vitally important. Women possess the power of relationship. Again, it wasn't Zechariah. If you're the man that's baking cookies to try to get close to, then you got to stop that. You got to stop baking cookies for the brothers. And leave that to, right? That shouldn't be happening. I cannot stress the importance of it. The women connect in a relationship, and then the men come in, and we do the business. We study the Bible with people. We study the Bible with these married couples. And when it's only the men going forward, it slows down. And when it's only the women going forward, it slows down. For the marriage ministry to grow, you must work together. The crazy thing is, the day we moved to Australia, we were looking for rentals, house rentals. We arrive at this house. There's, I don't know how many people are there trying to rent the same house. And we meet a couple that arrived just a few days ago as well. We're talking, "Hey, we're looking at this house, and what are you doing here? What are you doing here?" "I lead a church." "Oh, yeah, you do. Hey, you guys should come tomorrow and check it out. You would know the pastor. I'll preach." And he says, "Okay, we'll come." They come. They've been coming for the past 2 months. It's been awesome. But during those 2 months, it was Megan that met with the wife. "Hey, let's have a coffee. Let's catch up." And so they meet, and they talk, and they chat. And I made some cookies. No, just kidding. Just kidding. They keep coming to church. She says, "Hey, we do these Bible studies." "Oh, yeah, I would love to, but my husband, I don't know if he'd like to." "Okay, no worries. Well, let's have a coffee again later." They have another coffee. Relationship, whatever the women do when they talk about, coffees. But Megan's working cookies. She's working the relationship. And then at church, I say, "Hey, what's up, dude?" And we catch up, and we talk, and we bond, make jokes and all that kind of stuff. 2 weeks ago, they started studying the Bible. Power of relationship. And then we come together, and our first Bible study, we go to their house. It was the rental house that we tried to get that we didn't, that they actually got. Bonus, it has a pool. Like, "Oh, yeah, sweet." But that was the power of relationship. And so, we studied the Bible, and we were wondering, because all along she had been saying, "I don't know, my husband, if he's really keen, if he's really," and so I studied the Bible, and this guy's like, "I'm not reading my Bible. I want to, and I'm not, and I should be." And I was like, "That's right, man. And we studied, just before I got on the plane, we studied our second Bible study. We studied, "Are you living like a disciple?" He's like, "I'm not living as a disciple, but we want to." And so I was like, yes, man, the power of relationship, because that would have never happened if Megan hadn't been working a relationship. And so that's such an important thing. And so when you have these events and you get a married couple, let the wife do her thing. And then the husband comes in, and you work together as a team to build the marriage ministry. And then when they come to church, because they will, these marrieds will come to church, they typically stay for 2 reasons. Or they keep coming to church for 2 reasons. One is the kids' kingdom. They have kids. If your kid's kingdom is lame, you got to fix it. Because the preaching can be lame. It shouldn't be lame. But if they have kids, and their kids will beg them to come back. So in Auckland, man, we revamped our kids ministry. The kids loved it, and after church, the kids would come up to their parents, "We got to come back next week. And they're like, yeah, we got to come back next week. Our kids want to come back next week. So that's one of the reasons they would come. And the second one was connection. So we trained our marrieds at the leaders' meetings. Hey, when marrieds come, when you see a couple come to church and you don't recognize them, hey, Al and Kendra, I want to introduce you to so-and-so. And then, boom, Al and Kendra can invite them over to the house. And so when marrieds would come to church, they'd have dinner invitations for like a month. And so they would be connected to people before they even started studying the Bible. And so now our kids want to make us keep coming to church, and I already got all these dinner parties, and I must well keep coming to church. And then if they come to church consistently, like for 2 months, eventually they'll become disciples. That's what we found, because after a month they get some dinner. We're slower with the campus. Be like, hey, let's study the Bible every day for 3 hours. And with the married, hey, come check us out for a couple months and have some dinner. And then, hey, what do you think? You want to study the Bible and learn what it means to be a member of our church? And yeah, sounds good. And so they're connected relationally. Their kids are pulled in. Boom, now let's study the Bible. And our experience is that when that happens, married people become Christians if they come to church consistently like that. So here's some of the specific marriage events, and then I'll show you kind of photos of people that became Christians during the time. So I said we have 3 marriage events a year, and one of them is something we call a marriage night, and it's minimum organization, maximum impact. And but I did delegate it out at some point. And this is in your resources, by the way. And we love this, man. We'd hire a venue for the first 15 minutes. We'd drink some wine, we'd have some cheese, and have some snacks, and this was the event where I'm announcing the event. We got a marriage night. I'm the church guy. Make sure you bring your friend. At the leaders meeting, it's easy. When you go to school for school pickup, just invite your friends. They'll come. I guarantee they'll come, right? And so we'd have these married, and then at the event, we made new memories because people started turning up. The first 15 minutes, we're having wine and cheese and snacks, and then I delegate games for the next 15 minutes. Super easy, minute to win it. You can't go wrong with those it's hilarious. It's like low budget. You don't have to go buy a bunch of stuff, and you can delegate that to anybody, right? And so for 15 minutes, and it was hilarious. One of my favorite games. This wasn't a minute to win it, but this was absolutely hilarious. One time, we got the idea to do a yoga challenge. So we said, meet with your spouse, and so they paired up in their spouses, and said, okay, try this pose. So there was, okay, that's easy. They're going with their spouse. This, by the way, this was not from our marriage event, just to clarify any of that kind of stuff. It's just a photo. It's a photo stock, all right? So, all right, that was easy. Okay, so the couple sits down, and you do this. Okay, you guys, if you did it, you're going to pass on to the next round. Let's go for round number 2. It's like, okay, all right, let's try. And, you see all the married couples like, okay, you passed on. Now, for the final round. This was funny, man. We had 70-year-old couples trying this pose. It was crack up, man. And look, that's the vibe that was created at marriage night. I was like, oh, this is fun. This is crazy. This is awesome. We did it. Ming and I did it. We made it. We made it happen. So after all of that, like, imagine the buzz. We sit down like, man, we just love to be around together. Let's have a quick lesson from God's Word about how to improve our marriages. And then we did a 20-minute lesson. Bang, easy. We didn't preach for 50 minutes. We didn't do an expository sermon on the whole Bible. We just said, here's a few points about how to improve your marriage. And the Bible is where you find those answers. All right, so we did that now what I've done is I've given you one free, complete marriage night where I have my sermon notes in there. And it has a point in the sermon, in the presenter notes where it says, woman shares here. And then, but then the woman has to include her sharing because I put Megan put some generic stuff in there. But so you have one to get you started. So now you already have one marriage event if you're not doing this. And then after the lesson, this is the feedback from the marriage. They loved this part where for 20 minutes you get with your spouse and you say, what really stood out to you from this lesson? They love that because a lot of times marrieds, especially with kids, didn't have this time blocked out to just talk with their spouse. And so even our disciples, and so marrieds from the world, they come and they're like, man, these guys are talking about their marriage. And what did you think about that, honey? And so they sit down and they talk to their spouse face to face for 20 minutes, and some you're like, okay, time's up now, let's get, and it was awesome. It was really awesome. And so sometimes we always would do a marriage event around Valentine's Day. And that was really easy. And I would tell all the guys, now at the next marriage, it's Valentine's Day, make sure you write your wife a poem. All right, so when you come to this, you tell her this poem. And then during the marriage night, I said, okay, we now have a special moment. All the guys are going to take their wives off for a few minutes and read a poem. And oh man, it's awesome, right? How would the wives not be encouraged by that? And so we did that. That was a cool thing. So that was a lot of fun that happened. And this is, I couldn't find all the photos of the marrieds that became Christians and got restored in the first couple years because I lost access to my Facebook when I moved to Australia to the church. I couldn't go in and dig out the photos anymore. Anyway, these were all marrieds that got baptized, studied the Bible, or restored during the first couple years. Our marriage ministry outgrew the campus and the pros and the teens for the first few years. It was awesome. It was awesome. So, what's next on there? Wine and cheese. So this is also something we did for our marriage. Now this was called a marriage course. And this was a bit more organization, but also fruitful. We did a 4-week course. We titled it Connected. And we printed flyers for it. It had this kind of photo. It said 4-week marriage course. I think it had a QR code. And in each Bible talk, they mapped out a section of their neighborhood where they would go and put the flyers in mailboxes of, just random people and say, hey, we're having a marriage course. And so we hired out a venue. If you want to come, have a marriage course. So we did that. And man, the Bible talks were energized by, hey, we have a mission. They're getting out their maps, looking at the neighborhood, mapped it out. So they went and they put all these flyers in. And then we had people turn up for these marriage events, a 4-week marriage course. And so what I've done is I've given you that 4-week marriage course. You can tweak it, edit, revise it as you see fit. That's just a starter pack kind of for the notes for that. But it was really awesome. And at the end of every week, it'd have special time for your spouse where you sit and talk to them as well. So that was a really cool, it bonded the Bible talks together. It bonded the marriage together. It generated Bible studies. So all this, hopefully you can see the thread. We're going to make new memories, and here's how we're going to get there. And when people started coming to these marriage events, man, this is awesome. We got people that we can ask them to study the Bible. Are they seeking? Are they convicted? Blah, blah, blah. So here's kind of the final marriage event we did. This is my wife. We did a murder mystery, which would be cool. It was saloon style in Texas. I wish the photo was a bit larger. So what you can do is you can buy these online. And it's a starter pack. It gives you characters. It gives you the whole plot. It was hilarious. People dressed up in costume. People got into it. They wore wigs. They had cowboy hats. They had guns. They were fake guns. Maybe in Texas might be real guns. But it was awesome. I mean, we had so many visitors come to this thing. Because how easy is it? Hey, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, we're going to a murder mystery. Oh, really? Yeah, you should come. It'll be fun. So they came, and you have an MC that kind of oversees it and do all that kind of stuff, and it was awesome. And those people that would come to that come to church the following day, which was really exciting. Marriage events. So surpassing 100. How we need to make community events as well. So this is also what we equipped and talked to our leaders about, is having community events. So I think we had 3 or 4 every year. And so here's what we do in terms of the community. So what on the far left is a curry cook-off. So we made a big invite for that. So every year we have some kind of special event service. We have at least three of them. Strategically planned throughout the year so that when the studies dry up, you have another event. And then when the studies dry up, you have another event. So we'd have a curry cook-off where everybody makes a curry, you bring it, we'd get a panel of judges, and man, it's so easy to get people to come and eat food. And so they'd have this, and we'd have a great lesson, we'd have a great service, and afterward, we'd give a prize to the person who won the curry cook-off. The first year, shamefully, it was somebody who made curry from a pack. We were disgusted. So next year we had criteria. You have to make it from scratch. No pack. So that was, but people always come to that. And what we did is we would get our guests to judge. No, not the members, because that was cool as well. Like, hey, would you like to be a judge? A judge's curry. So that was fun. So make sure you have at least 3 events, church events, that are like really big push to get people to. You don't have to do a big thing at church, but just something very simple. Another one is the second one is actually me. That's Flash. The first year I was actually Robin, and I was discouraged because they didn't have the Batman suit. Nobody ever wants to be Robin. So what we did is we partnered with the Ronald McDonald House, which partnered with our Starship Hospital in Auckland. And every year, we as a church would go to the Starship Hospital, and we would run some kind of program for the kids that can't leave the hospital, that are doing they're having some serious complications and stuff like that. So this was our superhero night. So we went, and so it was an event. Again, I'm announcing this in front of the church. We're having our Ronald McDonald event, and it's evangelistic. Hey, if you have anybody that wants to serve in this event, let them know. People love to serve. Non-Christians love to serve. And so what we do is we'd have this event, and we'd bring our friends to it, and then we'd have a superhero training where all the kids come out, and we have a training series where after this you become a superhero, and that was quite fun and awesome. And that was the Flash. Did I mention that? But on the right side is some of the guests and stuff. And so then after the training, we feed the people, the kids, and we just have a great time. But it really brought the community together. And so you have to have some event that kind of helps with the community. Food banks are another one we did. In New Zealand, there's local indigenous groups called the Māori, and they have maraes, which is their kind of local house. So I had to pronounce this word quite a few times before I could say it correctly. We worked with the local Papatuanuku marae. So the point is, we would get there and help them. They raise their crops, and we just connect with the people. Right? So as a church, you must do something to get in the community. And normally, campus can do that as well, and that's all, but it's the Marys that are kind of deeply ingrained into the community. They meet the people at school, they have the kids at school, etc. So you get involved in the community. And then one of the final events for community was called Walking with Faith. So one year, I talked about themes for memories. One year my theme was imagine. Imagine what could happen to this. Imagine what could happen to that. Imagine if you came up with an idea, it was really awesome, and we started doing it at church. And this one brother got fired up, and he came to me and said, I want to start a hiking group for the church, and I wanted to connect to the community. I said, well, tell me what it looks like. He told me, I said, bro, you are now the man for that. And he did. And he started doing events every 2 months, and with hiking and walking with faith, he made YouTube videos, and eventually we had baptisms from that. People started coming to this Walking with Faith, and then he came up to me right before I left New Zealand. He's got, I got an idea to make this thing go global. I've been talking to the Philippines. And I'm like, amen, bro, I'm moving. Good luck, man. But what it did is it got in the community. I don't know where you live or what's fun or cool or whatever in community, but find out what it is and then start doing it. And get in your community, and it will attract people. And it was low organization for me. Somebody else was doing the work, and we were just studying the Bible. So men's and women's events. We'll spend the last 5 minutes here on this. I think we have 3 of each every year, 3 women's and 3 men's. So the far left, we did this paintball event for the men. That was awesome. Because every man knows somebody, hey, you want to come and shoot me in the woods this weekend? Yeah, let's do it, man. We filled it up. We filled it up. We couldn't, you had a maximum amount of visitors. We couldn't even get more. So, but it's cool. You go out there and you battle. You do paintball for an hour. And then at the end of it, we ate lunch together, and I did a 10-minute lesson about spiritual battle. Hey, we all go to church together. I know you're kind of offended that our team won in beach and paintball, but we all go to church together. We'd love for you to come tomorrow. Get them, because when the men get involved and then the marrieds get involved, the church starts growing. And so that was an event. Hey, make sure you bring a mate to this event. What's the next one? That's the father-daughter dance on the right. And that year the theme was characters. So the father is that Fred Flintstone? And the daughter is, who is that? Bam Bam or something? Pebbles? Yeah, obviously I don't know who that is. But so that was that. Now that's another event as a dad. I'm much more inclined to invite another dad to this than do you want to come to a Bible talk? Hey, I have my daughter. I'm taking her to this cool dance, and man, my daughter loves it. They love it every year. And would you guys like to come? So before the father-daughter dance, I take my daughters out. We have a special meal together. Man, it's some of my most favorite memories. And it connects the fathers with their daughters. And when the dads are engaged, that's awesome. So we had that event. So that was specifically for the men. And then you'll see the third one is, I don't know how you feel about this, but we hired out a pub several times a year, and we would have a pool tournament and a darts tournament. And you kind of, man, men love to come to that stuff. And as I'm out and about, it's much easier to say, hey, this weekend, guys from church, we're going to I'm hiring out a pub, we're going to have a pool tournament. Oh, really? Like, we had guys come to this thing and then eventually come to church, start studying the Bible. So as men's events, it's really important to do something that the men do in your neck of the woods, whatever that is. And so we'd have this tournament, and at the end of it, I would give prizes. I'd give like whatever kind of gift cards so that, hey, and guests would win. Hey, man, that was cool. They'd come, I'm coming back, you know. So we had those events and prizes at the end. And then another men event, which required little organization, is just a simple sport day. I'm American. I came over there. They were always asking me about American football. I said, well, let's play American football. Enough of this rugby. No, I'm just kidding. Rugby's awesome. They don't wear any pads. But let's play American football. And so invite your friends. This is a men's event. Invite your friends to this. Easy to get a guy to this. They come to the event, come to church, start studying the Bible. Minimum organization for my part. Just pick a park, bring a football. Easy. That's how you do it for the men's events. And then for the women's events, Megan does a fantastic job of creating events that are specifically designed for women, that get the women engaged. So the first one, you can go to, I don't know what the bookstore is anymore here. What is it? Really? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So this is a series that requires no organization on your part. You buy this book, and it's a study series. It's basically a quiet time. And so what the women are doing is every woman in the church has bought the book. They ask their guests, hey, we're doing this series at church. Do you want to? And so there's women that sign up. They buy the book. They meet on Zoom, 30 minutes on Saturday. They study this out. They have a quiet time together. It gets the women connected to the Bible. And so this is about to happen in January or February for the women there. Now, the next one is something that, the brothers never did. But the women, they had a midweek clothing swap. Really cool idea, right? So for the women, they had a midweek series. You have to bring articles of clothing that you want to swap. And so they put them up on the racks. And so the women come and I want to try this on, and I want to try this on. And so then they talk about being clothed in Christ. That was the idea, right? Brothers are getting too fired up about that. So that was another. And then every year, I think internationally, there's an International Women's Day, not even just with the ICOC, but I don't know who organizes that or how it happens. But every year, Megan would make sure that we're doing something with that and put something out about the International Women's Day and making sure that everyone knew. Because it's an easy event. You leverage that and you connect to the women. All right, we'll finish off on this. We'll spend a couple minutes on this one. This is so surpassing 100. We've talked about getting the marrieds involved, talking about the men's and women's community events. But here's a big deal as well. Ephesians 4:16 says, "From him the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work." Now that's important because the last part, each part does its work, is essential to the whole church growing. So what I've given in the resource guide is we tried to develop some role for kind of everybody. So that if there's an empty role in the church and you feel like you're gifted and you want to serve, and then you can do that. And so so we eventually had a marrieds night coordinator. We had a sport coordinator. We had this kind of, so that way everybody's involved in some way, shape, or form. And if you feel like you have a need that you see in the church that's not being met, why don't you come talk to me and we'll start doing it. Some people came and said, we need to start a cafe committee after church so that after church people can have coffee. I said, amen, let's go do that. That's awesome. Now they have a role. So when everybody is involved, this passage says, that's how the body grows. And so this is a part of job as a leader, making sure I know this person's gifted in this way, or this person wants to serve in this way. We need to make sure they get involved. And that's how the church will continue to grow. Let's take a 10-minute break. We'll come back for the last session.